This was a capitulation. A total unconditional capitulation.
Prince of England.
King Charles makes a monumental mistake.
They have been played.
Harry and Meghan demanded privacy. The palace gave them exactly that. Cameras were kept away, the cars stayed out of sight, the meeting happened behind Highgrove's gates, and Buckingham Palace released no official photo. But just 3 days after that supposedly private royal reunion, Harry was back in public, laughing into a microphone, introducing himself as a Prince of England, and openly talking about everything else.
Prince Harry was like the cat who got the cream on this awful new podcast with Joe Marler. Of course, this isn't a man who should be laughing along with anyone. He has just been completely shamed and exposed as a liar by a top British judge, who he then accused of being part of some type of conspiracy, meaning that even the establishment Times newspaper is calling for him to be stripped of his role as a Counselor of State.
So what was actually private? The conversation with Charles? Or only the parts the Sussexes were not ready to reveal yet? Harry did not directly reveal the words spoken inside Highgrove. That is important. He never shared what Charles said, what Camilla said, or how Archie and Lily responded. But the royal identity was suddenly front and center again. The titles returned, the prince label returned, the confident public image returned.
Occupation.
Full-time dad, British Army veteran, Prince of England, Duke. But for today, I don't know. What do you want? Duke.
And after one of the roughest weeks since stepping away from royal life, Harry suddenly sounded incredibly happy with himself. So why? What changed between losing in court and showing up smiling on that podcast? Why did Harry seem completely defeated one day and full of confidence just days later?
Now you're allowing history to repeat itself. You have clearly learned nothing.
Was he simply relieved after seeing his father? Was it because Meghan, Archie, and Lily made it into Highgrove without the media noticing? Or did Harry leave believing that one private family meeting had already rebuilt the royal connection he and Meghan have worked so hard to protect? The timing stands out in a huge way.
They're so toxic.
Before we continue, one quick thing. One thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's exactly why I recommend the Family Vault, a simple, printable, and fillable organizer where you can keep everything from important documents and insurance to medical information, passwords. You'll find the link in the description, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Now let's get back to today's story. Just 3 days after every setback, the podcast dropped, and Harry was casually calling himself a Prince of England and a Duke, almost like the difficult week had ended with a major win. But had it really? The podcast also raised another question Harry may not have seen coming. When someone asked about his occupation, he never mentioned a company. He did not describe a paid executive role.
Prince Harry has just admitted what we all have thought for several years now, that the gentleman is unemployed. He has no apparent job.
He did not call himself a producer, an author, a media founder, or a business leader. Instead, he described himself as a full-time dad, a veteran, a prince, and a duke. Those are personal identities, responsibilities, and titles. But where was the actual profession? Critics quickly focused on that answer and wondered if Harry had unintentionally admitted he no longer has a traditional full-time career. That does not mean parenting is not real work. Of course it is.
Number one, he gives himself is a full-time dad, which is a bit of a misnomer as him and his wife have nannies. And Harry travels quite a bit without his family. So how can you be a full-time dad if you're not actually full-time at home? You can't do those things. But saying he's a full-time dad implies that the parenting role fully falls on him.
But Harry and Meghan also maintain a massive California home, security, travel, employees, legal expenses, business ventures, and a lifestyle that clearly requires significant income. So who is carrying the business side today? Has Meghan become the Sussex family's main earner? Meghan has, as ever. She has lifestyle products, entertainment projects, media goals, and ongoing efforts to build a commercial brand beyond the monarchy.
A very different spin on his and Meghan Markle's relationship and their future business prospects. And I'm sure puts a lot of pressure on his wife because the dude apparently can't bring in any money.
Harry has Invictus, charitable work, veterans causes, and public appearances. But charitable work is not automatically a paycheck, and a royal title is not a job. When Harry describes himself as a full-time dad while Meghan leads the business projects, their partnership suddenly appears very different indeed. Did Harry walk away from the only institution that ever gave him a clear purpose? Did he really believe Hollywood could replace the monarchy? Did he expect documentaries, best-selling books, paid speeches, and streaming contracts to become a lifelong career?
I mean, let's be honest, Brand Sussex is dead. Everything they touch is a disaster. They've got the political, well, I was going to say the social awareness of two of the most tone-deaf people in the world, but at least he's ticked a box, Charles.
And now, 6 years after stepping back from royal duties, why is the strongest title he still reaches for the very one he left behind, Prince? That is exactly why this reunion means far more than sharing one quiet cup of tea. Harry and Meghan said they wanted independence. They built a new life in California.
During his visit to Warwickshire, Harry said, "I love being here. This is the highlight of my month." Actually, probably the last few months. It's very easy to sit in your grief, to sit in your stress, but guys, if you were feeling it, to share it. So Harry admitting in public that not all is good.
They promised freedom, privacy, and complete control. Yet their biggest headline this year was not an as-ever launch, a Hollywood success, or an exciting global venture. It was returning to see the king. And Meghan did not simply arrive through the front gate during the day. Reports describe a carefully planned operation meant to bring her, Archie, and Lilibet into Highgrove without anyone spotting them.
20 cars went into the Gloucester home of the King and Queen, Highgrove House, for some function to do with some organisation. And hidden within those 20 cars was, indeed, Harry, Meghan, Prince Archie. Is he Prince Archie? I have no idea. Archie and Lilibet.
Meghan, Archie, and Lily reportedly flew to Britain from a European holiday while Harry was finishing his public appearances. A private Chanel luncheon at Highgrove created heavy traffic, allowing the Sussex vehicle to blend into a line of around 20 cars entering the estate unnoticed. Think about that for a second. For days, the British media followed Harry everywhere. Reporters covered his court case, his Invictus appearances, his accommodation disagreement, and nearly every public move he made. Meanwhile, Meghan and the children reportedly crossed the country almost completely unseen. No airport pictures, no public arrival, no walk outside Highgrove.
Where people have not seen them because they use the private VIP entrance and exits at the airport. These two are capable of coming over here in privacy if they want to.
No clear photograph showing Meghan entering or leaving. That level of secrecy was not random. It appeared to be part of the entire plan. Harry reportedly traveled from Birmingham to Highgrove after finishing his Invictus event. Meghan, Archie, and Lily were already included in the private arrangements. Charles and Camilla then spent more than an hour with the family, according to several reports. For the first time in 4 years, Charles was reportedly able to see Archie and Lilibet in person. That is the personal side of this story, and it should not simply be ignored.
And by the way, if anyone thinks that this man is the future of the British royal family, as he goes from his meeting with the king to doing goat yoga and making crap jokes and boasting about the fact that he still thinks he's the Duke of Sussex on an awful new podcast. If anyone thinks that is the future, with Meghan and the kids shrouded in secrecy, let me tell you they are wrong. Because this weekend, we saw in the most perfectly illustrated manner.
A grandfather wanted to spend time with his grandchildren. A father wanted to see his son. Charles is still receiving treatment, and situations like that often change family priorities. But Charles is not only a father and grandfather, he is also the king. Every private choice creates a public reaction. Every open door can become another headline. Every family moment can quickly be turned into a statement about royal standing.
No details will be leaked about the private family gathering, and no photos will be released. Time will tell. Okay, time will tell, because we don't believe a word you say after the last 6 years, to be honest. But trust me, Stuff is going to be leaked from this meeting. It might just not come until the documentary next year.
That is exactly why the palace controlled every detail it possibly could. No Buckingham Palace photograph, no balcony appearance, no official family portrait, no public hug, no announcement that Harry was returning to royal duties, no new position for Meghan, no sign of any half-in, half-out arrangement. The Sussexes were given a private meeting, but they were not given a royal comeback. This was access, not acceptance, and that difference may have been Charles's entire plan from the beginning.
Well, Meghan maybe didn't get everything, but I'm going to be honest with you, Brittany, I still have massive concerns because remember, this is a long-term project that Harry is working towards, and this is the one-year countdown to Invictus. And what Harry wants and what Harry believes he has now secured, I hope and pray it doesn't happen, is that King Charles shows up in 1 year's time and probably shows up with Meghan and the 2 children too, and that's when the photo comes. So sure, Meghan didn't get it this time, but they are on the road there.
If he had refused to meet Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet, the Sussexes could have argued that the king turned away his own grandchildren. They could have portrayed Charles as distant, uncaring, and unwilling to make time for family. That argument immediately disappeared. Charles met with them. But if Charles had released a smiling photograph beside Harry, Meghan, and the children, that single image could have spread across the world within minutes. It could have been viewed as a sign of forgiveness. It could have suggested every accusation, interview, documentary, and memoir had been left behind. It could have become the Sussexes' strongest branding image yet. Charles made sure that possibility disappeared too.
Harry and Meghan have been played. They have been played, and that is a good thing. The king gave enough to look like, okay, he's being kind. He wants to see his grandchildren. Although I still see it as a risk for the king and not so sure it will be a true success for the king just yet.
He gave them enough, but he did not hand them everything. That is why some commentators believe Harry and Meghan actually got outplayed. They received the emotional family meeting they wanted, but not the public royal moment that could signal a full comeback. They made it through the gates, but the world never saw them standing beside the king. They gained private access, but they never received a public show of support. But do not celebrate too soon. Charles may have accepted the biggest gamble of his reign. Why? Because the palace can control photographs, locations, and official announcements. But it cannot control everything Harry and Meghan may choose to say in the future.
Meghan didn't actually get exactly what she wanted because the Duchess, or the fake Duchess, actually hoped that it was all going to be about securing an image. An insider telling him that a photograph was the real prize.
What happens if a later interview includes one carefully chosen detail? What happens if a source suddenly describes Charles's emotions? What happens if a documentary uses the journey, the secrecy, or the children's British roots as part of a much bigger story?
Of course, I believe the real visit is because of Althorp and because of the need for them to secure footage and stories involving the 2 children ahead of this documentary for the 30th anniversary of Princess Diana's death next year. We do believe that over the weekend, Archie, Lily, Meghan, and Harry were all at Althorp. The Sun reported Prince Harry was seen leaving the ancestral home.
The meeting may still be private today, but will it still be private a year from now? Reports also say the Sussex family visited Althorp, the Spencer family estate closely connected to Princess Diana. Commentators are already wondering whether that visit could become part of future projects linked to the 30th anniversary of Diana's passing, although no official production connected to the reunion has been confirmed.
And it's also Netflix are hanging on to them. They're throwing them little tidbits and bones. I don't think Netflix are hanging around for Carly Fortune's book. I don't think Netflix are hanging around because they might buy some sort of war film that Harry and Meghan are producing. Would they hang around for footage of Lily and Archie at Althorp? Like, you know, at Diana's gravesite, photographs? Oh, yeah, absolutely. That would be gold for Harry, for Meghan, well, let's be honest, for Meghan.
That is exactly why the palace will likely be watching every future interview, production, and publicity campaign very carefully. Can Harry enjoy a private family moment without turning the emotional impact into public attention? Can Meghan accept royal access without having a photograph to use? Can they simply let this reunion stay a family reunion instead of becoming another media storyline?
If she can't get to the royal family, it feels like she wants to get at least to the Spencers and Diana's sisters and, be seen maybe going in and out of Althorp or be able to report that she has done. Because that's the closest she can get to any kind of currency.
Because the first sign of what comes next may already be here. Harry's latest interview did not reveal private Highgrove conversations, but it immediately pushed his royal identity back into the spotlight. Prince of England, Duke. The man who stepped away from royal duties still introduced himself using royal titles when explaining exactly who he is. Sources close to Harry reportedly said he felt extremely happy, refreshed, and encouraged after the family meeting. That is hardly surprising. The court defeat had overshadowed the entire week. The palace accommodation dispute had become embarrassing. Meghan stayed away from every public appearance. William kept his distance. Then Harry arrived at Highgrove and finally received the meeting he had been hoping for.
But Harry, I believe, is now a 42-year-old embarrassment. I mean, making jokes about your private bits, do we really need to go there? Or as that one put it, pretending to have balls. No, mate, we just look at you. We look at you now and we cringe. We cringe hard.
Many people believed Harry had won, but that may have been where the real challenge actually began. A real victory would require trust. Is that trust truly there? A genuine reconciliation would require accountability. Was there an apology? A royal comeback would require an official position. Was any role offered? None of those questions have been confirmed. What has been confirmed is only a private family meeting without photographs and without additional details.
Charles is not quite the pushover that some people seem to think he is, nor is all forgotten, nor will it ever be. Harry and Meghan will never live down their treachery or the lies they told about Charles and Camilla, and that's before we get to their violation of William and Catherine.
So why are some commentators saying Meghan and Harry got exactly what they wanted? Because even without a single picture, the meeting connected them to the monarchy once again. For several days, people stopped talking about jam, cooking shows, streaming struggles, or business concerns. Instead, everyone was talking about Meghan inside Highgrove with the king. Once again, the royal connection captured all the attention. That is the biggest contradiction at the center of Brand Sussex. One commentator flatly declared that Brand Sussex is finished. But if the brand were truly finished, why did one private family meeting create this much worldwide attention?
For Meghan, it's achieved what she wants. It's once again re-established, the maybe not been seen, but we read the news story, that they're still part of the royal family. And that, I think, is what people find.
Oh, she didn't want to be part of the royal family. Yeah. She called them racists and everything else.
But Brand Sussex is entirely dependent on some sort of association. Hence the reason why when you see all her packaging for her as ever, all I can hope is that the jam, they had some proper jam served at the tea from Highgrove rather than the slop that Meghan calls strawberry spread.
The bigger issue may actually be even more damaging. Brand Sussex seems to struggle without the royal family, yet returns to global headlines the moment Charles opens the door again. What does that reveal about the independence plan? What does it reveal about the California lifestyle they built? And what does it reveal about Meghan's business strategy if a royal connection still brings worldwide attention faster than anything else she launches?
Meghan understands the power of imagery better than almost anyone. A single picture with the king would have reminded the world that she and Harry are still royalty. That's branding gold. The Sussexes have painfully discovered that none of their post-royal ventures have carried the prestige or global attention that comes with a visible connection to the monarchy. This wasn't about family, the insider says. It was about access. Royal association remains their most valuable asset. A smiling photograph with the king would have instantly reset the narrative, reinforced their status, and reminded everyone that they still belong in the royal conversation.
Harry and Meghan may have received exactly what they needed in the short term. Relevance. Charles may have received exactly what he wanted as well. Private time with his son and grandchildren without offering a public royal comeback. Both sides walked away with something, but only one side controls the institution, the palaces, the official photographs, and the future direction of the monarchy. And that future does not depend on Harry. Prince William did not meet his brother during the visit. There has been no public statement from William.
William's furious about this. Why? Because it's a reward for the treachery, the disloyalty, and the cruelty of Harry and Meghan.
But royal commentators report that he understands why Charles wanted to spend time with his son and grandchildren while still having no plans to rebuild his own relationship with Harry. William's reported position is shaped by trust issues, previous public disclosures, and his responsibility for protecting the monarchy's long-term future. Could Charles forgive as a father while William refuses as the future king? Absolutely. Those are two completely different relationships with two very different responsibilities.
I mean, let's look at Harry at this goat yoga, right? The guy is literally, I believe, completely delusional now, Brittany, because he thought this photo op and then giving quite an arrogant interview, I thought, to Joe Marler, where he says, "Oh yeah, I'm Harry, Duke of Sussex." You know, he's really claiming that royal title. But actually, Brittany, I thought the optics for Harry were just awful, really, because he looks a fool now.
Charles may choose to leave the family door open in private. William can still keep the institutional door firmly shut. That is exactly why claims that this meeting restored the Sussexes seem far too early. Harry did not meet William. Meghan did not attend a royal engagement. The children were not presented publicly. The palace released nothing that could be viewed as an official return.
Could this all be a scheme, a setup to blackmail the king into showing up at Birmingham next year, which you've said yourself was the ultimate goal for Prince Harry, to have that royal presence and to give him that renewed credibility next year in Birmingham?
And commentators discussing the brothers are becoming increasingly direct. They simply do not expect a Harry and William reunion anytime soon. Harry can call himself a prince. He can call himself a duke. He can return for Invictus. He can speak positively about Britain. But the man expected to lead the next reign did not publicly move even one step toward rebuilding that relationship. So did Charles make a brilliant decision or a massive mistake?
The whatever he's taken to sort of the hallucinogenics have really messed with his brain that he's taken probably to help him with his mental issues have made them all worse. And so he is just this unemployed, in my personal opinion, loser who's just constantly trying to recapture what he had and not accepting his new life and trying to have a new job. I mean, he did it for a half a second, realized it was hard because, you know, the real world is hard. And it's like, you know what, I'll just go back to this thing where I can do a little bit and look like I'm having fun.
Maybe he removed the Sussexes' strongest criticism by spending time with his grandchildren? Maybe he denied them the photograph that could have become priceless branding material? Maybe he showed that compassion does not have to mean surrender. But maybe he also reopened a line of communication that Harry and Meghan may continue testing again and again. Harry is expected to return to Britain for Well Child in September, and reports say another family meeting has not been ruled out. Does one private cup of tea become the beginning of a pattern?
Maybe a few years ago we would have thought that type of shtick was cute, but now we see Harry for what he really is. But as I say, there are a lot of people saying that this meeting isn't disastrous because in some ways it was Prince Harry and Meghan Markle having to kiss the ring. I mean, look at this picture tracked down from Prince William's jaw. I did quite like that.
Will the palace face another negotiation every time Harry comes back? Will Meghan return as well? Will the children appear at future Invictus events? Will Charles eventually attend too? This is where the real uncertainty begins. The reunion was never the biggest story. What happens next is the story everyone will be watching. Will Harry keep the meeting private once media pressure starts building again? Will Meghan avoid using her renewed royal connection to strengthen her public image?
Harry and Meghan's claims about privacy for their children, of course, we all knew it was complete hogwash, but now we have even more confirmation that Harry and Meghan are fully willing to utilize their children in order to help maintain their public profiles.
Before we continue, I want to mention something really quick. Organizing your family's important information is one of those things most of us know we should do, but we keep putting it off. That's exactly why there's the Family Vault. It gives you one place to organize your important documents, insurance, medical information, passwords, and more, so everything is easy to find when it's needed. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. That's all. Now, let's get back to today's story. Will anonymous sources suddenly begin describing the room, the atmosphere, or the king's exact words? Will a future project mention the visit without ever showing the meeting itself? And if even one private detail becomes public, will the palace decide that the entire experiment failed? Because this meeting was exactly that, a test. Not a coronation, not a comeback, not a restoration, a test. Charles tested whether he could spend time with his family without giving away control. Harry tested whether he could return without turning the visit into another public battle. Meghan tested whether she could enter Britain quietly and accept leaving without a single public photograph. The palace tested whether private access could exist without being mistaken for official acceptance. So far, no photograph has appeared. No private details have emerged. The Sussexes were not offered any new royal position. That suggests Charles stayed firmly in control.
A little bit unclear where Harry and Meghan stand because they're allowed to do this cosplay royal routine with impunity, and it is damaging the monarchy. It's confusing people, and Charles here, I feel like, has added to the confusion by meeting with Harry and Meghan and not making them capitulate to him, especially with a somewhat public apology about their deplorable behavior over the years.
Not even close to an apology, Brittany. I mean, think about what Prince Harry was doing earlier in the week. Slamming Charles's judiciary. He intended to do it from Buckingham Palace.
But the podcast revealed something very different. Harry still appears deeply connected to the title, the country, and the royal identity he once stepped away from. He may live in California, but when asked what he does, he reaches for Prince of England. He may describe himself as a full-time father, but those royal titles still carry enormous meaning. He may talk about building a new life, but the monarchy continues to shape the biggest headlines around him. That is where the real pressure begins. Harry appears to want family, purpose, status, and a lasting connection to Britain. Meghan appears focused on commercial success, public influence, and maintaining a global platform. Can those two paths continue moving together? Or did the Highgrove meeting reveal Harry slowly being pulled back toward the world? Meghan encouraged him to leave. The Sussexes entered Highgrove quietly among other vehicles. They left without a public photograph. Harry came away smiling, confident, and full of energy. Just 3 days later, the world heard him proudly describe himself as both a prince and a duke. That is not proof that reconciliation has happened. It is proof the royal connection still matters, far more than either side may wish to admit. Charles gave them access, not acceptance. He removed both possible advantages, but he also accepted a significant risk. Harry and Meghan gained the attention they wanted, but not the public royal comeback they could proudly display. William remained completely outside the process. Now every promise of privacy will be measured against whatever happens next. So tell me what you think. Did King Charles outsmart Harry and Meghan by allowing a private meeting while refusing a public royal image? Or did he make the biggest gamble of his reign by opening that door again? Is Harry truly satisfied being a full-time dad? Or did his podcast reveal how closely his identity is still tied to royalty? And can Brand Sussex really survive without another visible connection to the monarchy? This was not the victory. This was only the beginning of the real test. If you enjoyed this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And subscribe to Hollywood Yesterday, because the next move may reveal exactly what this reunion was truly worth.